Jules Verne, Around the World in 80 Days. Chapter 2. The Bet. The 2nd of October. Every day Phileas Fogg left his house at 11:30. He put his right foot in front of his left foot 575 times. He knew the exact length of every step, and he put his left foot in front of his right foot 576 times before arriving at the steps of the Reform Club. He had his lunch in the dining room, and at 13 minutes to 1 he went to the large hall where he spent the afternoon reading the newspapers, having break only for dinner. At 5 o'clock he had afternoon tea, and at 20 to 6 it was time to go to the games room to play cards with other 5 wealthy and respected members of the club, the same 5 men as yesterday and the day before and the day before that. That evening, before the game started, the men talked about a newspaper article. It was about a robbery at the Bank of England. One of the men at the card table, Gautier Ralph, was one of the directors of the bank. The robbery took place on the 29th of September. The thief stole £55,000. England's best detectives were looking for the thief after hearing that the Bank of England was offering a reward of £2,000 to the person who was able to catch the thief. They knew he was an elegant, well-spoken gentleman wearing expensive clothes. Another man, Andrew Stuart, continued to talk about the robbery. "Where do you think the thief is hiding? He could be anywhere. The world is so big." "It isn't so big anymore," replied Phileas Fogg. "What do you mean?" said Andrew Stuart with a laugh. "The earth doesn't get any smaller." "Ah, but the earth is smaller," said Gautier Ralph. "When you think that we can now go around it 10 times quicker than we could 100 years ago. Did you know that today a man can travel around the world in only 3 months? 80 days, to be exact," Phileas Fogg corrected him. 80 days? Asked a surprised man at the table. "Fogg's right," said Ralph. "Look, the Morning Chronicle has a timetable for a journey around the world," and he showed them the central page of the paper. "From London to Suez by railway and steamship, 7 days. Suez to Bombay by steamship, 13 days. Bombay to Calcutta by railway, 3 days. Calcutta to Hong Kong, China by steamship, 13 days. Hong Kong to Yokohama by steamship, 6 days. Yokohama to San Francisco by steamship, 22 days. San Francisco to New York by railroad, 7 days. New York to London by steamship and railway, 9 days. Total, 80 days. Well, maybe that's true, but only if you don't consider bad weather, storms, shipwrecks, and other things, said Stuart. "In 80 days, considering all possible events," continued Phileas Fogg. "Ah," replied Stuart, "well, I'll bet £4,000 that a journey like that is impossible in such a short time." "I repeat that it is possible to do the journey in that time," said Phileas Fogg. "Well, if you are so certain, then do it yourself." "I will," replied Phileas Fogg. "When?" "Immediately. I have £20,000 in Barron's Bank. I'll bet all of it that I can go around the world in 80 days. I will return here in 1,920 hours, or, if you prefer, in 115,200 minutes. Do you agree to the bet?" They all looked at one another. They could not decide if he was serious. "We agree," they said. "Each of us will pay you £4,000. That's £20,000. when we see you again here in the Reform Club in 80 days at the end of your journey around the world, or you have to pay us £20,000. That's the bet. Phileas Fogg thought for a minute. Okay, I'll take the train for Dover at 8:45 this evening. The bet starts at 8:45 p.m. Phileas Fogg took a small notebook and a pencil from his pocket and made a note. Today is Wednesday, the 2nd of October. So I have to be here in this room in the Reform Club on Saturday, the 21st of December at 8:45 in the evening. If I am not here by that time, this cheque for £20,000 will be yours, gentlemen. And with these words he left the cheque for £20,000 on the table, picked up his hat and went out of the door. It was 7:25 p.m. At 7:50 he opened the door of his house in Savile Row and went in. "Mr. Fogg, is that you?" said Passepartout. He looked at the timetable. This was not on the timetable. "Passepartout, we are leaving in 10 minutes. We are taking a train to Dover," said Mr. Fogg. "From there, a steamboat leaves for Calais at 11 o'clock tonight. We are going around the world in 80 days. We can't lose a second." His employer did not seem to be in a hurry. He spoke a little quicker, but he behaved in the same calm way. Passepartout's eyes opened wide, very wide. "Around the world?" said Passepartout to himself, shaking his head. Just when he finally thought he had the perfect job, he wanted to work for Phileas Fogg because he was a gentleman who lived a quiet life, who always did the same things. And now, where was his quiet life? "Pack a small bag with just my night things in it, please, and the same for yourself. We can buy everything else when we need it," added Phileas Fogg. And with these orders he left the room. Passepartout continued to feel a little confused, but he followed his master's orders. He quickly packed the bag, and at 8 o'clock they were ready to leave the house. Phileas Fogg opened the bag and put £20,000 into it. He closed it tightly and gave it back to Passepartout. At 20 minutes past 8, they were at the station. Phileas Fogg saw his 5 friends from the Reform Club. "Are you here to say goodbye? That's kind," he said. "I'll have stamps in my passport for each country. You'll be able to see them when I'm back." "We won't look at your passport," said Ralph. "We will trust your word as a gentleman of honor." At 8:40, Phileas Fogg and Passepartout took their places in the train, and at 8:45 the train started. "It must be the money for the journey," thought Passepartout about the money in his bag. He did not want to lose it. After being in the newspapers, Phileas Fogg's journey wasn't a secret in London anymore. Some people thought he was mad. Others said he was a genius. Some days later, the police at Scotland Yard got the following telegram from their detective, Fix. To Row 1 Commissioner, Scotland Yard, London. "I'm following the bank thief Phileas Fogg. Send a warrant to Bombay now. Fix, Detective Inspector. Suez."